Next topic. It's often asked, how do I feel good about my life? You may have to do things you don't wish to do. You may feel great at certain times or in certain methods in certain ways, but not in others. You might laugh and you might get frustrated with us. And yes, us is beyond an individual consciousness. But think about the skill of being happy. Release the triggers, you can address them later if they arise. What does it mean to be happy and to feel good? Yes, there's certain activity in your right brain. Yes, there's certain activity in your left brain. Yes, there might be other things in your world, but does there need to be? Do you need to have that person? Do you need to have that thing? Do you need to be in that place to do that activity? As reflected in your physical body with serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin and everything else you would measure, as your subjective well-being would measure. What is needed? It needs to be experienced. The actions of your brain need to fire. You need to notice and feel. That is all. This release is such a godsend. We're winking at you. Because needing a path, needing an achievement, needing a recognition, needing a release, a relief, a rescue, a savior, a saving, needing anything adds a requirement to your happiness. Why bother? You can build a skill, but if you build that skill to be happy, you are choosing a path of happiness based on fulfillment of desire. What is the point of that? That will continue until the death of this body if that happens. But if the point of choosing to be happy is for its own sake, that is your measurement of success. There are no outside external factors. And yes, like anything, you can learn about happiness. But choose what to learn well. You can learn about heart surgery, but do you learn from a poor text or a well-written text? Do you learn about happiness from a being who is somewhat happy or a being who is consistently, blissfully, inherently, naturally, joyfully, persistently, authentically, consistently happy? You can use words of enlightenment, but we aren't even talking about that. That word can scare some of you for the ego surrender it requires. So just consider happiness. How do you feel? You decide. So if you're ready for more practices or if you want a higher priority one, 333 times, investing 25 minutes on being happy. There are methods David teaches, there are methods on YouTube, there are methods in books, there are methods you can intuit, there are methods you can research. Simply act. The next question coming through is, how do I restore my rightful place in this world? How do I come back? How do I be seen in my greatness? And how do I experience it? How do I express it? We're not going to say act because that is somewhat obvious, and David is covering that in his future workshop on Sunday. And that is something many of you can learn. We are talking about the permissioning related to self-worth, related to knowing of your path, of what needs to happen and your internal system for the actions to occur naturally on their own. We are talking about a certain process of alignment of you to that timeline, that reality, that future version of yourself, that future version of this world, and shifting into that. So yes, manifestation, visualization exercises, ritual magic, actions in the world, setting goals, getting accountable, receiving support, having a clear path, having a clear plan, having a realistic expectation, all of these things absolutely make sense. But deep within you, you must accept that this is what you are shifting into. Now, why are we saying something so basic? Why do so many spiritual teachings go so basic? Because we ignore them. We think because they're basic and simple and said often, they may be worth less. That is not true, especially not in this case. Accepting a path means you will stop resisting it. If you resist a path, you are holding yourself back and you are pushing that path away. Now, you very likely know how to get past resistance. As an intermediate, advanced, beginner student, as a curious explorer, as a seeker, whatever label you would choose, the idea of shifting beyond resistance in a mental, spiritual, psychic, physiological sense is something that is known. Yes, act. Act to remove the resistance. Act to go beyond the resistance. Act to process it, release it, surrender it. Do whatever you must. Act as if it were not there, and then address whatever is there later. There's so many paths. But if you are waiting for the resistance to leave, you are getting addicted to your feelings, and you are practicing avoidance of not resisting. You are practicing avoidance of looking at and feeling fully that resistance, exploring what's there, asking that part of yourself why it's speaking up, and then just dealing with what arises. We have 2 more topics for you. How do I know what magical system to trust? This is by fewer of you, but even in your own experience, what you have been led to, if your studies and training have been or might be eclectic. There are 5 elements I will share with you related to trusting a magical system. The integrity and the authenticity of the teacher and the one who transmits. The practical validation in the material world. The lasting and test and measure of time and critique and response of those who have been skilled, who have studied seriously and put in significant effort to look at the process. What the process does to you, how it aligns you and shifts you. David wants me to say towards the light, towards the highest version of your most kind, loving, compassionate self. Notice that is David's addition. The M in mystery. The last component of if a path is right for you is your deep inner knowing, is trusting your intuition. The first 4, logical brain mostly. This one, very significantly. Who are you? What is this path? Does this path match you? Yes or no? Is there resistance? Just like a supplement, if you hold it towards your body and you feel your body doesn't want it, and your body is happier if it's farther away. Simple way of body intuitively embodying intuition, checking to see if a supplement is good for your system. Similar with the path. And this tuning in, which you do not need to do 333 times, this tuning into a path or person or book or education or experience, feeling drawn to, feeling pushed away from, this is your barometer. Not just to this path, but to anything. This is a subtler way of astrally accessing your intuition. And I encourage you, if it is ever unclear or murky, to use the Flower of Life exercise on yourself, which can restore, heal, and strengthen your ability to collect and connect with clear and accurate intuition at any point in time or space.